Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. The legacy automakers are saying some things that doesn't make sense, but it might not be their fault. They are simply stuck in their old paradigm, incapable of seeing beyond their current framework. Because this might seem obvious to us because we have been seeing disruptions play out many times before and we are not being disrupted, but many people are still surprised how fast it happens and how could they not have seen this. But that is what's called Paradigm Paralysis. And former CEO of Nokia even gave us advice on this many years ago, but legacy automakers are simply incapable of following this advice because they physically don't see the data that is right in front of them. Like so many paradigm shifts before, it's usually the experts of the prior paradigm that don't see it coming or refuse to see it coming because it simply changes everything they believe in. So let's try to look at this advice from the former CEO of Nokia gave us and what exactly is paradigm paralysis, because this might help us to understand why legacy OEMs are incapable of seeing what is playing out right in front of them and therefore is unable to change and adapt fast enough to survive. And let's dive right in. So someone like BMW still only aims for about 50% of their production being EVs in 2030. So does Volkswagen on a global scale and many others. So I don't know what the last 50% of sales will be, because one thing is for sure, it will not be ICE vehicles in 2030. I hope they know just how many countries have already set a ban for new ICE sales by 2030, led by Norway of course, that will ban them in just 3 years from now. But that will not even be necessary because the cost of EVs is declining and will only continue to go down, making sure all on its own that people will only want EVs in about 5 years time. The $10,000 EVs does already exist in China. And with the decrease in the ICE sales by 50%, do they really think their suppliers for the parts for the ICE engine will be alive and kicking at that point? It's like they tend to forget that when a new technology disrupts another, the old will collapse almost as fast as the new one rises. It's like they haven't learned anything from all the innovations and disruption that have happened through the years and how fast it goes. So, dear BMW, Volkswagen and all the other legacy automakers, here are some free advice from the former CEO of the world's former largest cell phone company. He said back in 2013, when they had lost everything, only 7 years after Apple revealed the iPhone. We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. If you don't change, you shall be removed from the competition. Yes, exactly. Nokia's strategy was to stay the course and do nothing. They didn't want to change or take risk. In the end, avoiding change to avoid mistakes cost them everything. And it was not like Nokia didn't try to make a smartphone only 2 years after the iPhone was revealed, and that was actually not a very good iPhone. It didn't really have GPS or cameras. But when in 2009 Nokia came out with the N97, the one to battle the iPhone, I was personally waiting for this one to see the response from Nokia to Apple's iPhone. But in 2009 Apple showed off their third version of the iPhone, the 3GS, that was a much better iPhone, and the year before Apple launched the App Store. Apple was moving so fast together with the new Android phones, and Nokia came out with something that was not good enough 2 years after the smartphone revolution had started in 2007. And I ended up buying the iPhone 3GS. 2 years is a long time when the whole war was over for Nokia in only 7 years. This is where I see someone like BMW right now. They have just came out with their N97 that does not match up to Tesla's technology, not in performance, not in range, not in charging speed, and definitely not in software. And the mistake BMW is making is they think they have the next 20 to 30 years to make this switch. That would be 2 to 3 times slower than the switch from horse to cars that happened over 100 years ago. That sounds very unlikely. I would say the battle is over for BMW by the end of this decade. Let's see if they can move fast enough, or they will probably become the next Nokia, together with many other legacy automakers. And what impresses me is that people don't really learn from all that has happened, like Mark B. Spiegel, Mr. BS, said himself back in 2014 about Tesla being able to get to 500,000 cars in 2020, which would be a compound annual growth rate of 56%. And as he said, no other complex manufacturer in history has ever grown that fast. True. And that was his reasoning for why Tesla would not be able to do it, because it had never been done before. But that is exactly what Tesla did. This should be a big sign for people. Tesla did something no other company in history has ever been able to do. And in 2021, they grew even faster and will probably grow even faster again here in 2022. And as we can see, their Q1s through the years has only been speeding up, never slowed down. As Joe Justice says, Tesla is making hardware like you make software. This is how fast Tesla moves in an industry that is known for moving very slowly. From new product design to production, it usually takes about 7 years. The same time it took from the iPhone reveal until Nokia's death. And I know we have seen a lot of EVs now, but take someone like GM for example, and their Lyric they are starting production of now. That is GM's first fully fledged EV built from the ground up on the EV platform Ultium, that will hopefully be built in any kind of volume. That is 10 years after Tesla came out with the Tesla Model S, that was the first EV built from the ground up on a battery skateboard. And Tesla even opened all their patents for that car in 2014. Everyone could just have copied it, but no one really did. They just stayed the course, did nothing. They didn't want to change or take any risk, just like Nokia. But the big problem now is that Tesla did not just make an electric car, but they have made a computer on wheels, and the others know nothing about software. And Elon has also revealed the big secret to them. The machine that builds the machine is the real product. But again, no one listens. And now Tesla has these big gigafactories that are so much more efficient and have reinvented the way we produce a car. And Tesla can make changes on a daily basis where legacy automakers take years to make a change. So Tesla is probably the world's fastest moving company in one of the world's slowest moving industries. This is probably why someone like BMW doesn't even see it, because Tesla is moving so fast and the shift to EVs is going so fast, BMW still don't believe it's true. It doesn't fit their existing model of reality. But to understand why legacy automakers to say these things that doesn't make sense, like BMW or GM or Ford can be surprised by the big EV demand that is happening right now in front of their eyes in their industry, when it seems so obvious to us, we have to take a quick look at the paradigm and a paradigm shift to try to understand why legacy automakers don't see what is coming, don't see what is happening right now. A paradigm is the rules that determines your way of thinking. Back in the days, we had a set of rules that said the earth was flat, and that determined the way people thought about the earth. Then we discovered that the earth is actually round, and we had a paradigm shift because the rules changed, so our thought and belief about the earth changed. A paradigm shift is a major change in how people think and get things done that replaces a prior paradigm. So a paradigm shift can result after accumulation of anomalies or evidence that change the status quo or due to some revolutionary discovery or innovation. And a very important point here is it replaces a prior paradigm. All the old ways of thinking don't matter anymore. All of our expertise from prior paradigm doesn't apply anymore. We start from ground zero. One of the best examples of a big paradigm shift where one of the biggest experts and genius suddenly were wrong was Lord Kelvin. Yes, that Kelvin, who invented the international system of absolute temperature that bear his name, was a highly decorated and recognized 19th century British mathematical physicist and engineer. The list of his pioneering contributions to electricity and thermodynamics and the emerging field of physics is very, very long one. He was even knighted by Queen Victoria for his work on the transatlantic telegraph. This guy was a genius, a true genius. But he was also famous for saying that there is nothing new to be discovered in physics now. All that remains are more and more precise measurement. 5 years later, Albert Einstein published the paper of special relativity, which challenged the very simple set of rules laid down by Newtonian mechanics. It opened up an entirely new field of science that dramatically changed our world. And this is just one of many examples of experts who became deeply entrenched in the existing model of framework, from telephones, television, airplanes, personal computers to the internet. Most of these technologies we now take for granted were once considered impossible by the experts viewing the world through the lens of existing models. They didn't fit the existing paradigm. So that is what happens when revolutionary discovery or innovation happens. Our way of thinking and the way we see the world and our beliefs change. But for you to change the way you think and you see the world, you of course have to be able to see the new set of rules. But that is not always the case, especially for the people that were the expert in the prior paradigm, because it challenges everything they believe. They will be trapped in a paradigm paralysis. And paradigm paralysis refers to the refusal or inability to think or see outside and beyond the current framework or the way you think and see things. Paradigm paralysis is often used to indicate a general lack of cognitive flexibility and adaptability of thinking. Simply put, they can't see beyond their current model of thinking. It is physically impossible for them to do so when they are trapped in a paradigm paralysis. And this is what I think is happening for many legacy OEMs. They simply don't believe what is happening right now in front of their eyes because they physically cannot see the data. It doesn't fit their framework and way of thinking. And they know what is real. They are, after all, the experts, right? Just like Bob Lutz was an expert with over 42 years of experience that guaranteed that Tesla would fail.
Because I have news for you, 42 years of experience, and it's doomed and it's going to fail, and I will guarantee.
But right now it looks like it will be the legacy automakers that will fail, and BMW CEO are saying some disturbing things like Alex tweeted about here, like the CEO of BMW saying there is no economic reason to have a very large integrated part in these vehicles. Talking about the giga castings, of course. Particularly, lower manufacturing cost is overcompensated by casting cost. Like always, in mass production, initially higher investment are compensated by each incremental part produced big time. That's basic production math BMW CEO seems not to understand. Yep, just like Sandy Munro always says, don't save me any money, I can't afford it. This is a very scary stuff coming from BMW CEO when someone like Tesla already has better gross margin on their vehicles than BMW has. And we see Volvo has already copied Tesla gigacasting, and Volkswagen has just said they will use gigacastings as well in their new factory they are building for their Trinity platform, or they will not be able to catch up to Tesla's production speed. But not BMW. They will just stand their course, do nothing. They don't see the data. They are stuck in a paradigm paralysis. As Elon Musk says, all that matters is the pace of innovation. Pace of innovation. And this paradigm shift is happening very, very fast, and everyone that thinks they will have any ICE sales left after 2030, well, they will either be a much smaller company or more likely not be in business anymore, because all the suppliers that have to supply the parts for their ICE engines will probably have gone bankrupt at that point, because most of their business has disappeared. And Ford has just said they will be investing in the internal combustion engines.
Bronco and Ranger and F-150, Super Duty, Mustang, those vehicles aren't going anywhere.
I want to emphasize that. We are going to invest in internal combustion engines.
But as Sandy Munro says, that will cost $1 billion and take 10 years to get return on investment. So they will never get their money back on this. This is a big waste of money for Ford, and the legacy OEMs can't afford wasting time or money right now. They have a mountain of debt, and they have hardly started the shift like GM that sold less than 500 EVs in all of Q1 2022, and their ICE sales are collapsing, not just because of COVID and supply chain issue. They have been going down for over half a decade, so long before all of these excuses, as I talked about in my last video. Most of them are stuck in their old paradigm, and we are in a big paradigm shift right now. Some of them thinks they see the light of the end of the tunnel. It's not the light at the end of the tunnel they're seeing. It's the freight train called EV revolution coming through the tunnel straight for them. With nowhere to hide, the only way to survive is move, and move fast. The only thing the car industry is incapable of doing. But Tesla, on the other hand, is sitting in the cockpit of that freight train, pushing the accelerator. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.